Okay, good evening, everyone. It is currently Tuesday, June the 4th, and it is 7:10 p.m., and I would accept a motion for us to start our public hearing on our FY20 constant yield hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to state it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any objections? None? Okay, this meeting is now in order. Okay, we start out this meeting immediately with an overview of the constant yield rate and advertising. Mr. Baden.
Thank you very much. The constant yield tax rate hearing is spelled out in the state code, and it basically says that if you are going to increase your taxes over the constant yield rate, which is the rate set that would generate the same amount of taxes this year or in the next fiscal year as the current year, then you have to go through certain procedures. So that part of that includes an advertisement that we did place in the paper in accordance with the timing established in law, and I'll read that notice now. It says, Town of Colmar Manor, notice of a proposed non-commercial real property tax increase. Non-commercial meaning residential property tax increase. The Town of Colmar Manor proposes to increase non-commercial real property taxes. For the tax year beginning July 1st, 2019, the estimated real property assessable base will increase by 6.3% from $68,209,975 to $72,503,078. If the Town of Colmar Manor maintains the current tax rate of $1.04 per $100 of assessment, real property tax revenues will increase by 6.3%, resulting in $44,648 of new real property tax revenues. In order to fully offset the effect of increasing assessments, the real property tax should be reduced to 0.9784, the constant yield tax rate. The Town of Colmar Manor is considering not reducing its real property tax rate enough to fully offset increasing assessments. The town proposes to adopt a real property tax rate of $1 per $100 of assessment. This tax rate is 2.2% higher than the constant yield tax rate and will generate $15,661 in additional property tax revenues. A public hearing on the proposed real property tax rate increase will be held at 7:00 p.m. Tuesday, June 4th, which is today, at Colmar Manor Town Hall, located 3701 Lawrence Street, Colmar Manor, Maryland, 20722. The hearing is open to the public and public testimony is encouraged. Persons with questions regarding this hearing may call 301-277-4920 for further information. So that is the hearing that we were required to publish in accordance with law. And there was a certain timing in which we had to publish that notice. After the notice was published, the mayor and council met and discussed the budget at least one other time. It might have been two other times. And based on those budget discussions, the mayor and council is proposing a budget that keeps the constant yield rate. So the rate of 0.9784. So that is the constant yield rate, which means with the budget as currently proposed, if it's passed, will result in no municipal property tax increase for residents of Colmar Manor. And we'll go into the budget a little further in the next hearing. I did want to point out that the commercial real property tax, even though we were exempt from publishing a notice on that we will be increasing the commercial real property tax rate from the current rate of 0.8533 to 0.8557. So a slight increase over the current rate, but about a 6-cent increase over the constant yield rate. So the commercial constant yield tax rate is 0.7964. And the proposed rate is at 0.8557, and by setting the rate at that amount, it will generate $15,993 in new commercial real property tax revenues within the town. I think that's a overview of the two rates and the effect on the constant yield associated with those.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Baden. I don't think I have anything to add. I'll just reiterate that we have not increased residential property taxes, maintaining the constant yield, which reduces the rate, as you might read it, as 0.9784 from 1.04, and with the slight increase on the commercial side. Council members, any comments, questions?
Yep, that is available up in the town office. Yeah, it was also posted in the newspaper. I can't remember what the date was. Sentinel newspaper. It's supposed to be posted 7 to 21 days before the hearing. I don't remember actually. It was May 23rd that it was advertised, and I've got the original notice right here.
And it,
you know, they know where to look to make sure that we are following.
and I think it's a good point, and most residents should know.
Okay.
From a government perspective, postings of hearing and information still happens in the newspaper. Does the Sentinel have an all-online component?
I don't know.
And that's normally, the newspapers that are normally used are local Sentinel, and is there another one?
Prince George's Post and
Prince George's Post.
Prince George's Sentinel.
And Prince George's Sentinel.
Yeah.
So, just to let you know, if you want to keep up with what's going on in government at all levels, those are where the postings are happening. Any citizen comment? Okay, state your name and street you live on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Barnett, and I'm on 41st Avenue. I'm elated to know that we're not going to have a property tax increase, but it leads me to ask the question, what elements went into proposing that we have an increase?
Originally, when this notice went out, well, we had a decrease in some of our larger revenue sources, mainly red light camera revenues, you know, which necessitate us either increasing real property tax revenues or finding other revenue sources or decreasing proposed expenditures. And through subsequent budget meetings, we mainly reduced expenditures so that we did not have to generate as much revenue to cover the expenditures appropriated in the budget.
And when we do the budget hearing, we're actually going to go through the budget more, so you'll be able to see what that budget was in it and what the budget is now that doesn't have the increase in it.
Well, I appreciate the hard work because as a resident, I was not looking forward to a proposed increase. So I am elated to know that that's on the table. And perhaps we can, as you said, when we look at the budget, we can come up with some other cuts, necessary cuts, or streamlining some things that we may do or not do. So I thank you all.
No? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just want to say, yeah, this is one of the mayor's pet peeves. She wanted to make sure that we didn't introduce the budget and adopt it on the same day. And that just allows the residents to have any comments or concern or anything that they may see that we didn't see. But I can tell you, the mayor and council has worked very hard on this particular budget, staying late hours. I know I've stated before that I'm not running 2020. I think if someone wanted to run for this position, it would have been a good time to come up or still come up just to see, because next year around this time, you're going to be thrown in the budget. So I just want to open my arms up to anybody that's interested running for my seat.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Any additional comments, concerns? Okay, well, is there a motion for us to close this public constant yield hearing meeting?
I'll make that motion stated.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the hearing is now closed. Okay, at 7:20. Okay, so is there a motion for us to open up our public budget hearing? It's currently 7:21. Is there a motion for opening the public hearing on the 2020 budget?
I'll make a motion to state it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, ayes have it. We are now in our budget hearing meeting. Budgets are available on the table if you want to look at them, and we'll start with an overview from Mr. Beatty.
All right, the budget gets adopted in the form of an ordinance. The ordinance was actually introduced at the May 14th, 2019 work session, or city town meeting. I'll read that front page of that ordinance again. This is an ordinance of the Mayor and Town Council of Colmar Manor, Maryland, to establish a budget and levy for the town of Colmar Manor for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019, and fully ending on June 30th, 2020. Be it ordained by the Mayor and Town Council of Colmar Manor that pursuant to the power and authority vested in the Mayor and Town Council by Article 23, Section 2B of West Annotated Code of Maryland, 2002 main volume and 2012 cumulative annual pocket part as amended to date, and sections 309, 210, 608, and 609 of the charter of the town of Colmar Manor, a budget, together a levy in the amount set forth therein is attached hereto and made a part hereof labeled Exhibit A, and known as the annual budget and levy of the town of Colmar Manor for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019, and fully ending June 30th, 2020, be and sings hereby enacted. Section 2, the Mayor and Town Council hereby grant signature authority on all town instruments of withdrawal pursuant to Section 1.3H of the Town Code to the Mayor, or such other member of the Town Council as should be designated by the Mayor, and to the Clerk Treasurer. Mayor and Town Council hereby grant all authority on all town instruments of withdrawal pursuant to Section 1.3I of the Town Code to the 1 Mayor or such other member of the Town Council as should be designated by the Mayor, and to the 2 Clerk Treasurer. This ordinance will take place upon the date of its adoption. As I said, it was introduced on the 14th day of May. It's anticipated that this will be up for adoption at next Thursday's town meeting that is rescheduled from next Tuesday. So instead of next Tuesday, the 11th, the meeting will be on the 13th. So with that said, attached as the Exhibit A is a document titled Fiscal Year 2020 Budget, Draft 3 that was recently updated last Friday. Included in here are the revenues and expenditures for the town proposed for fiscal year 20. You'll see 6 columns shown on the budget draft. The first column shows the July through April 24th, 2019 actual figures of revenue and expenditures. Second column shows the fiscal year 19 budget as currently approved for revenue and expenditures. The third column shows where we anticipate being at the end of fiscal year 19 in revenue and expenditures. Fourth column is the fiscal year 20 budget that was originally proposed, and in the fifth column are budget adjustments that had been made from the original document that was proposed to get to the final column, which is the budget that we are looking to adopt or at least discuss tonight. So the first 2 pages of the report show the revenues. You can see at the bottom of page 2, the total revenues total $2,280,994. Looking at the far right column, included in there is $769,291 of unreserved fund balance. So these are funds that have been unexpended in prior years and brought forth. Good rule of thumb is to keep at least 25% of your budget, annual budget, in a reserve account for a rainy day or unexpected events that may come up. So we're well within that limit. Compare the $769,000 to the total budget. The large items under the under the revenue, first one on page 1 are real estate taxes, $940,000. That's our largest source of income. One after that is personal property taxes of $80,000. These are personal property taxes that the town collects on public utility and commercial business property. None of that is collected against residential property or homeowners unless you have a home business and file a personal property tax return with the state. Next larger item is highway users revenue, $52,184. If you compare this to column 3, you see that it's about a $15,000 increase from $38,634 to $52,184. This is due to the state increasing the amount of revenue, highway users revenues that municipalities will receive. About 10 years ago, they made a large cut in the amounts that were distributed to the municipalities, and beginning this year, they are starting to restore that in the actual formula itself.
Yay!
Yeah, that was like really for years now.
Yes.
Yes.
Account 4040 income taxes is state income taxes that the town receives for residents who file returns within the town. Again, we're not a large increase, but we're anticipating it coming in about $110,000, which is about $10,000 over what we originally budgeted in fiscal year 19. Most of the other revenues are about the same until you get down to interest income. That increases to $17,500. That's the interest income we earn on the investment of surplus funds funds that aren't being used to fund current operations. Interest rates are going up, so we anticipate additional revenue there. Skipping down to 4271, red light camera violations. I want to point out in the second column, the original budget for fiscal year 19 was $230,000 in revenue from violations related to red light camera. We were only anticipating receiving $107,800 this fiscal year. That's a major decrease in what we had anticipated. The reason for that appears to be that the camera's been there for a while. People know that it's there, and so they're slowing down, which is the reason we put the camera up to begin with. But the downside of that is there's a decrease of revenue associated with violations at that location. And that, in itself is about a $120,000 decrease in projected revenue. So we, had to make some pretty major cuts within the expenditure budget to compensate for not receiving those revenues, and we'll get into those in a little bit. Continuing on down, not a big difference in most of the other accounts. So the total revenues, as I said, including the unreserved fund balance, is $2,280,994. So the next pages all deal with the expenditures. And you can see in the fifth column, budget reductions, these were the amounts that we reduced those line items by in order to you know, I don't know what you say pay for, but in order to offset the decrease in revenue that I just talked about, the $120,000 decrease in revenue, if you look at all these budget reductions and you follow it over to the last page, page 7, you'll see the total budget reductions total $118,324, which is, you know, close to the $120,000 cut that we had in revenues. So, you know, in order to have, you know, that much of a reduction, 120,000 reduction in revenue and no property tax increase, as you heard at the constant yield tax rate hearing, we had to make some major cuts within the expenditures themselves. I don't want to go through all of them. You can see where they are. The good thing is all of the operations of the town are still being maintained with the cuts. We're going to be calling on the town employees to, you know, pay a closer attention to items that they purchase, how they purchase them, and ask them to look at other, you know, ways to, you know, save money, you know, in their purchasing habits. So, yeah, we've discussed these quite a bit at the 3 budget sessions that we have, so I don't necessarily want to go into each item in detail. If anyone has any specific questions, we'll try to answer those. You know, on the last page, the one other item I wanted to point out in the far right column, the last item you see is that in this budget, we are actually proposing to use $71,654 of our unreserved fund balance. So, you know, that will reduce our fund balance from the amount that I had stated before of $769,291 to $697,637, which still leaves us at a 44% fund balance. You know, I don't encourage using fund balance to, you know, fund operating expenses, but, you know, seeing we have a large balance, I'm okay with it this year, but, you know, we do need to try to find other financing sources and, you know, some, you know, permanent cuts within the expenditures. You know, otherwise, you know, the only other alternative is to look at other revenue sources and possibly tax increases in subsequent years. So, council decided not to do that this year, and, you know, as I said again, you know, it's going to be asking the you know, employees, the mayor, council, everyone to, you know, really see what we could do this year in order to, you know, lower expenses and find new revenue sources. So that's all I wanted to say for the budget at this point, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baton, for those details. As Mr. Baton indicated, we had to go through and really do some cuts. 2 things that were the major, 2 things that appear the majors were like camera costs that it dropped this year from other years. And the secondary is that we did not meet our rental numbers this year. So we lived within those numbers because we had a good anticipation based on our rise that we would be able to. The one area that we did budget for, which could have helped us offset this, was the Daily Bazaar. We did not live within those numbers, and when I say live within them, it means that even though they were in the budget, they were not being used in the budget, so that wasn't a part of what we lost, but we did not gain it in order to help us into the new year. So in working on this budget, we actually have 2. This is primarily the budget that we were presenting, which we all agreed to in fair detail and what we know we can live and we can cut. But if we're able to obtain the funding that we would like to from the Daily Bazaar, and bring our rentals up in the town hall, we have a really good chance of putting most of this money back into the budget this year. So our goal is, as we go through the year, working with the employees in the town, that we up our game in those areas while we still maintain cutting for efficiency purposes. So just to give you an idea of the cuts in the budget, I'd just like for the record to indicate that Councilmember Bowden has come in at 7:35. So, the major cuts in the budget, well, they include a percentage from almost all of our events. So the events that we have are the special events, Port-Town events, or our holiday events. We've cut them all by about maybe 20%, somewhere along that way. In salaries, we normally budget for 3% salaries across the board. This current budget here budgets for 1% across the board. So again, if we can bring in additional revenues, that will come back into the budget again. The other thing that we cut most of any donations that we normally give out, or our, well, in the case of our scholarship to students, we cut that in half. For donations, we've taken again about 20% off of most of the donations that we make. Event salaries, donations. We cut the mayor and council's office budget by 25%. Let's see. And a lot of these other items are based on efficiencies, things that we want to become more efficient in. One being IT services. If we ourselves can do more of IT, maybe we can get some cuts in that area. Salaries. One cut I will say I'm not comfortable with, but we have it in here right now, and it's for the senior van expenses. We had a lot of expenses for the senior van based on its age. But what we agreed to was that rather than spending more money on the senior van, we would have to just not run it for a period of time if we need to, as opposed to throwing money at it. A lot of these cuts are small because we went by the fact that $100, $200, $300, $400 doesn't kill a program, but at least it pulls that little bit out. And when you pull a little bit, a lot of times you get the weight that you need. One item that I'm disappointed we have cut in here, and we will work really, really hard in order to get this, is that we're trying to get a shredder, a shed for Public Works, and a striper so that our yellow paint can stay painted all year around, because the striper would be able to do that and make that more efficient. But again, we work hard on our revenues that we need to bring in. We'll put that back in the budget again. Some other things are all about efficiencies. You know, do we drive our Public Works trucks too much? Probably. We can more efficiently do that, cut back on some gasoline. Also, purchasing maintenance supplies. Are we doing it effectively? Are we buying in bulk so that we can actually get that done effectively? Probably not, so we can work towards that. We have cut street lighting only by $1,000, but I think that probably if we, right now, we are working with some people at Pepco and other places about getting our street lights changed to LED lights. The time that it takes to go through this process and what upfront costs might be might hinder that, but I've seen some movement in Mrs. Goodall, who have been working on this for us, and so we're looking forward to see if there's something out there. If we really are to get the LEDs, it will cut that cost dramatically, and it will be a permanent cut. So we're just being conservative here by saying, well, even if we got 1 month's worth out of it, we might save some money there. Under Public Works, again, with the vehicle maintenance, we are going to have to examine the appropriateness of maintenance versus long-term use of a vehicle. In other words, if it's costing us that much money, we might just have to get rid of it. On page 7, oh, there's something else I want to point out. Wait a minute. Okay. Now, oh yeah, so on page 5, electric, 5860, we have got a substantial cut in that. electricity, because we have received the grant to change the LED lights, change all of our lights in the building to LED lights. So we're about to go in the audit process. There's no question we should not be able to get this savings in this particular area. In terms of just small cuts in the heat, that should do to efficiency. We start using our thermostats properly so that they're set that over the weekend, if there's over the evenings, we don't need to heat a building. The heat can come on at 6 in the morning and start heating up the building. Doesn't need to be on at night. So if we use these tools that we have, we can get more efficiencies in the facility. Okay, going on to page 6, this is our biggest cut, is on page 6, and it is our half-town police officer. We have previously budgeted in the past for 2 full-time officers, 1 half-time officer, and a sergeant and a chief. So we, unless we bring these additional funds in, we will not be able to hire this half-time officer. The ones that we got right now, and I think are doing a great job, Chief. I want to say I really appreciate them very much, and people are happy that they see them around town. So that's a really, really big deal, and we got that big push to, we'll still work on getting this in here, but we're in a better position than we have before. All these other things are little 10% cuts across the board on a whole bunch of items. I do want to point out from a budget perspective, on 6008, which is the chief Cottage City, the 51,786 is a misleading number. As you all know, we split our time with Cottage City, and this makes it appear that the chief has $104,000 salary, and the chief does not. Mr. Baton is going to make the change on this in order to break that out, because we have an Appendix A which breaks out everything that says how much of that money is for health insurance, how much is it for supplies, how much is for uniforms, how much is it for this, that, and the other, all the other things that are on that list. And those should be broken out so that you can actually see the detail of what those specifics are and not just see it under police chief. So when we finalize the budget next week, the numbers, when we finalize the budget next week, we will have that broken out so that it's clear what those numbers really are. So you can actually see what those numbers are. Okay. So another outlay here that I am of concern on page 7, which is the top of the page, which is our chairs. We do rent the gym, and we have chairs down in the gym, and about half of our chairs are broken. We do need to replace the chairs. So saying that we want to increase our hall rentals but not buying the chairs is counterintuitive. So this is a number that might come back in this budget quickly, and it depends on what our hall rentals look like, because if it does look like we're able to beef up rentals downstairs and those chairs missing are a problem and not us using it, then we'll just have to pull that back in the budget when it has to come in. Efficiencies. We've cut $1,000 off of our holiday parties. Like I said, that's about 25%. And we are cutting on the recreation supplies. We have made a commitment to try to focus on donations and seeing if we can help people to contribute and bring things in, and find ways for us to have our events at lesser cost. I do think we can do it. I feel really comfortable with that. So some of those cuts may become permanent because we learn to be more efficient, and so it allows us to really work at getting these done. I will reiterate what Mr. Baton said in terms of the reserve. I feel the same on unreserved, that we do not generally use unreserved funds for operational expenses. So this has been a labor imbalance. We are using $71,654 in reserve balance, but what I will say is this: being able to use that without us going below 44% in a reserve, because a safe reserve is 30% and we're at 44 still, is because we've staved off we staved off expenses in the last 5 years. So while we thought we were going to be eating into reserve, we stopped eating in reserve about 5 years ago, except for special occasions. And by doing that, we've been able to maintain that reserve balance up until last year of $787,000, which is like almost 50% of our cash budget, our cash out budget. So those are the reasons why restraint over time, even when it might not seem necessary, is important. But I want to say I'm very proud of this council and the staff for our spending habits in the last 5 years, because by maintaining our spending habits, we've not raised taxes except for shade 1 year in that time period, and yet we're able to maintain this and still have money when we need it, because this is a dramatic shift, and that's what reserve is for. When something dramatic happens, and when our red light cameras drop by 50%, that's dramatic. Everybody's working together. I appreciate all y'all for everything put into this.
Thank you.
And thank you all. I'll take any comments that you guys have. Good job.
Just want to say thank you, Mr. Baden, also for working with the mayor and council on these decisions.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think I want to kudos off Councilman, Mr. Baden, as well as our treasurer. He is so conservative. And he'll go tooth and nail with us. And appreciate that. Coming from a banker.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank you.
that, being conservative. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else? And we did. I got my best relationship with Mr. Baden here because I'm an accountant, and we box real good, you know. So, you know, I get him here, they get him there. But I think he was really, really happy when he came back from his leave to find out that we were able to take $144,000 that like down to 71.
Right.
Yep.
So we did work on it,
That's
Mr.
true.
Baden, didn't we? And we kept the residential taxes out too.
Yep.
So, everybody's working together on this. Yes. So we have any residential comments?
I just have 2 questions. On page 5 of 7, with the mosquito control,
Uh-huh.
where does that cost go? It's supposed to be sprayed by the county.
Mm-hmm.
And also, my other question is, under 5830, waste collection, when is the waste, contract due for negotiation?
So for the mosquito spray, which is typically the amount we pay the state of Maryland, is it state or county? It's county.
County, no state.
Okay, so it's, we pay for them to come and spray in the area. So right now, we are in a situation where 28 households in town have requested exemption from spray, which is impacting the other 400 households in town, because based on the maps they use 300 feet fully around a facility in order for that exemption to take place. So 28 homes out of 425 has a significant impact with that. I made a request last year to go to 75 feet instead of 300 feet, which was granted. And so we're waiting for a new map right now, because the last map they sent out, they used the 300 feet. So it exempted it stopped the whole town from being sprayed. So I'm waiting for a new map to come out with the 75 feet to see where we are on it. And I am looking forward to probably calling a public hearing in July to have the residents come up and actually get some feedback on how they feel about this. This is a budget hearing, but I'm going to throw my thoughts out just in case somebody, because I did a whole lot of research in the last week and pulled up a lot of really good information. And the impact, for everything I can find, the impact on bees, this is all about bees, that the impact of what they're spraying here for mosquitoes for bees is so small that it's almost irrelevant. If you just covered your bees, if you're a beekeeper and you just cover your bees, then it's not going to kill them. If you, they spray at night when the bees are usually not out. It is absolutely true that if you were to spray the spray onto the spray of a bee directly, that bee's probably going to die. But that is not what's happening here. No one is spraying anything on bees. And that's what this is all about. Mosquitoes are far more dangerous than bees. They carry disease, they carry lice, they carry, and not only that, they destroy your personal outdoors. So I will put my point out there. I love bees more than anything. Bees feed us. Bees and pollinators are the things that actually feed us and keep food being made. But this is a ridiculous conversation at this point. And the fact that some people have gotten a little bit of information and blown it up and convinced a whole lot of other people is shameful. It's I'm not going to say shameful. They mean it. I take that back. I don't say shit. I just think that it's out of line with what is the real reality. And at some point, people who have an huge passion for something should really start to do more and more research before really blowing it beyond the proportion for which it should be. But that's I'm just doing my stool. They gave it to me. So, they gave it to me. So, yes, ma'am, absolutely.
So, that's why we pretty much took it out of the budget right now.
We didn't take it out.
We didn't take it out, but that's something we did talk about.
We did talk about taking it
We
out.
as council and mayor, we have to listen to our residents. So I'm so happy that you said that we may have a meeting here in July. As far as talking about the mosquitoes, maybe we can have someone here from the county to come on there, explain to the residents. My thing, if the residents do not want the town to be sprayed, I would be behind on 100%. That's what if the residents want. But I do want to stress out, please do not use DECA. Please use another method of getting rid of the mosquitoes, because that's one of the things that I've heard, no, we don't want to spray, but yet in your cabinet you have something that's even more harmful than what the county was going to use. So all for whoever is leading this fight, because that's what it's all about for the community. If you strongly disagree against something, but we got to make sure the residents are not using harmful chemicals and stuff. I live by the water, so I didn't get sprayed last year. Family members and everybody got eat up. I don't get eat up because I use stuff to go. I don't know. They must don't like it, but I know. So either way, we have to, as a mayor and council, we're going to go with the residents, but I just want to make sure that the information that's out there is the correct information that's passed on. That's my say on it, the mosquito spray.
Anybody else on that topic?
No, but I agree 100%. You explained everything to the citizens, and I just want, if you do have any information and or you don't understand, just please come up to the meeting.
Yes. And we also can forward anybody any information if you're interested in some of the very specific websites that have a lot of good stuff on them, because there are some really, really good. I mean, they really know people are concerned about this, and so they go into depth about how the EPA went about testing and how they go about trying to measure how far away to be from it in order to make sure, because the bee situation is a very, very serious situation. But I agree with Councilmember Jackson that if I have a majority of this town, a clear majority of this town do not want the spray, however I think about it or not, I'm with the residents of the town. I just need to hear that, and I have not yet. Right now, I'm looking at 5% of this town impacting 100% of the town. And I think anyone who's really interested should really be interested in finding the majority and not just the number that makes the map go away. So,
a couple of years ago, the Green Team did do some background information, and letting the citizens know, about the mosquitoes and so forth. And so I think we still do have that information available here.
In the town, we have a lot of standing water.
Right.
That is not even on the residents' property that if it rains hard.
Right.
It stands, especially by the car wash or walking on 43rd Street. So we have a lot of standing water that we have to just wait till the water dissolves. So,
Which is a part of one of the education that was happening with the Green Team was admirable in terms of trying to show people how to eliminate the things that cause mosquitoes to show up. And all of that was really good stuff and things, how we do things. It doesn't change the fact that we actually live off of a creek.
Right.
The creek runs through the town. It creates a whole lot of circumstances, Councilmember Jackson causes, where there is standing water that a person in a residential house cannot handle. So not all answers of the positive work, and we tried. We even put ours in an ordinance not to use it, and we had to reverse that spray part of the ordinance because it was causing a negative impact to the town as opposed to a positive attack.
And I think we reversed it because of that time the Zika virus.
Yes,
was
and
out,
Zika.
And we had a lot of pregnant women in town.
Right.
And then I think there was a sighting somewhere in Highsville, so that kind of scared a lot of people.
And
As far
also
as-
in Cottage City, they found
Right,
out
West
what's
Nile.
now.
Right.
So
Hot.
it's just a much more dangerous
Right.
situation. We're not going to kill the bees, just not, but we need to stop mosquitoes. But moving on to the next question, 5830 about our waste collection. I think it's next year.
I think it's got 2 years
Is it
left.
2
but
left?
I'll have to check.
Okay. And I suppose your question is related to how we negotiate it, or?
No, my question is, by it being proposed the same, dollar amount, I was just wondering how long does that, because we need to, as a resident, I think that, we need to look at the contract, services that's provided, or any services that's provided. We need to look at it to see if it warrants the same amount of money for the upcoming contract.
Okay. Well, one of the things I've been saying for a while now is what I really want to do is I want to continue to use a trash collection company, but I would like to have the collectors to be hired by us. No question in my mind, we'll have a more efficient, effective pickups, and let the truck just be the truck. And the people who are picking up their trash be consistent, and if they hired by us, they're consistent by us. But there's a lot of benefits, what do you call it, cost-benefit analysis that have to be done to see how well that would work for us. But we will be having, hopefully we'll have Bates in here in July. We've been trying to get them for the last couple of months at the regular town meeting. So they're due to come to a meeting and talk and hear from the residents. And maybe I'll do it the same day we do the public hearing on mosquitoes, and we can get a good number of
Right.
people up here.
Right.
You know, to talk about both of those things. All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments? So this budget is open until we actually vote on it next Tuesday. So,
Thursday.
oh, it's Thursday. That's right. Next Thursday. I forgot. We had to change the meeting. Next Thursday will be our regular public meeting, and it will be the meeting for which we adopt the budget. And then the budget is open until then. If anybody has any suggestions, you can email me at sbarrow@colmarmanor.org or Kayla Cooper, it's K. Cooper @colmarmanor.org. And if you have access to your council members, you can reach out to them. And we may or may not make some changes prior to putting out this budget, but as of today, this is the budget that's going out. We may talk about this budget again based on comments today at our work session, which will start immediately after this meeting, and we welcome hearing from you. We welcome hearing from you all time of the year. You know, once we put the budget in place, it's not a time that we have to actually just stop. It's just what the budget is at the time. But we can always work on efficiencies, and if anybody has ideas about what can make us more efficient to save more money, ears are wide open all the time. So,
Great.
with that done, any additional from the council?
No.
Just want to kudos to you. If residents, if you see anything that you may see something needs to be tweaked, or because we're all about saving money, please let your council woman know. Also, email the mayor, and just remember our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, June the 14th.
Instead of that too.
Instead of
The
the,
13th.
I'm 13th, I'm sorry. It's gonna be on a Thursday, June the 13th.
Yeah, that's right.
At 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Is there a motion for us to conclude this public hearing on the 2020 FY budget?
I'll make that motion stated.
I'll second it.
Okay. Properly called in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any objections? None. All right, thank you so much. Okay, we are going to retire to the conference room for our public work session.